Historic events now as BBC Two looks back at the celebrations marking 50 years of Pakistan's independence. The latest releases first on BBC Two in Film 97. First on BBC Two, a wronged war veteran tries to prove his innocence. The Saturday matinee begins with I Am a Fugitive from...
Continuing the Saturday matinee now on BBC Two, a screen version of a hit Broadway musical and another postcard from the country.
BBC Two now opens a new season of The Works. Actor Ray Fiennes and his family talk candidly about their extraordinary mother. Janeway and her crew brave the elements now on BBC Two in the conclusion of a two-part story on Star Trek Voyager. Now on BBC Two, in the last programme of the series, Professor Stephen Hawking explores whether there's a single theory embracing everything. BBC Two now explores the legacy of Margaret Thatcher as Alan Clark concludes the history of the Tory party. Lunch isn't all that it's cracked up to be for William Holden and Ryan O'Neill.
Time Watch for BBC Two now, recalling the tough characters and tough conditions of the Klondike Gold Rush.
A Bollywood villain and some new Brits now on BBC Two, talking to Network East.
And new in Top of the Pops 2 in 50 minutes. First on BBC Two, the coolest guy ever to have worn a polo neck.
Before that, we're sifting through the papers on BBC Two. Stepping onto the front line, decisive moments now on BBC Two follows the camera at war.
First on BBC Two, it's a date for look. Now on BBC Two, it's Alf's party, and he'll cry if he wants to. A battle for a place in the second round now on BBC Two in University Challenge.
Now on BBC Two, discover Shakespeare's Macbeth in an English File special.
Quentin Wilson takes a spin in a seductive little sporty number now on BBC Two. Tonight's Star.
BBC Two now is talking to young people about their beliefs and what they mean to everyday life.
Now, the first of two films today here on BBC Two, starring the man himself. He co-stars with Dustin Hoffman in Papillon tonight at 9:30. Now, though, he lines up with Frank Sinatra in Never So Few. Mixing old and new, this is BBC Two.
Now on BBC Two, a review of a busy week for the press. Now on BBC Two, the Cold War, and with Stalin's death, the lethal power games begin, a political race and a military threat. This is BBC Two. Powerful performances now on BBC Two from Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman. Condemned to a living hell within a brutal prison regime, one man holds onto his dream of a flight of freedom, Papillon.
This is BBC Two, entering the animal zone.
Back on BBC Two now, the series that likes a fine car.
Feel the rhythm first on BBC Two with a new series of sound stories. Get digging first on BBC Two for the essential guide to rocks. First on BBC Two, whet your appetite. Along with loads of swearing, this is BBC Two on the fiddle, on the pull and on the pop. Fresh comedy from award-winning writers. Now, BBC Two gives you Big Train.
Now on BBC Two, a TV first, in the Ozone.
In 15 minutes here on BBC Two, the Simpsons are in the grip of gambling fever. First, upfront music news in the Ozone. First on BBC Two, Marge and gambling just don't mix.
Earth Story first on BBC Two, and dunes are busting out all over.
This is BBC Two, now Monday's News Night, with Kirsty Walk.
Kavanagh and the cause on the ozone in 45 minutes. First on BBC Two, specimen jars at the ready in Heartbreak High. This is BBC Two in the land of the pharaohs.
First on BBC Two, if you've never owned a piece of vinyl, then you're too young to be watching this. Here on BBC Two, we stayed to the end of that session of the UK snooker final, so we're running a little bit later than scheduled. Now Howard Stableford is feeling the heat as we head into the animal zone.
Introducing a night from the natural world now on BBC Two, David Attenborough.
Now on BBC Two in widescreen, if the music doesn't get you, Frank Skinner's jokes will.
Another tale from the storyteller in 45 minutes on BBC Two after Robot Wars.
Are you ready for a ballet classic as you've never seen it now on BBC Two? A daring new adaptation of The Sleeping Beauty in widescreen, introduced by Deborah Buell.
A schedule change now on BBC Two as we go live to the Houses of Parliament for a special service, introduced by Edward Sturton.
Scary stuff now on BBC Two. Are Buffy's worst nightmares coming true?
A new series now on BBC Two widescreen reveals Churchill's Phantom Army, who with stealth and cunning were the inspiration for James Bond. Betrayal, torture and death just a breath away for a British secret agent.